Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with Morning Express. We're within our last few minutes of the show, but this being a Thursday, we cannot close off the show without Tech Central. And of course, today we'll take a look at e-learning. But before we can do that, allow me to introduce my guest. Of course, today closer to me, I have Cynthia Onyango. She's a product manager of I-Do, and you get to know what it is about. And then I have on my far left, Michael Krulowski. He is a developer. We'll get to talk to them in just a few minutes. But first, stories making headlines on the Tech Central front. Now, two high school students from a little-known school in Trans-Nzoia County beat all odds to invent an unconventional security system. Our reporter Elvis Koskei met the two boys from the Ishulkul Boys Secondary School, and here is this report.
Eshikulu Secondary in Likuyani Sub-County will meet this duo set to present the new invention at the 2018 ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists in Johannesburg in an international exhibition that starts on Tuesday this week. Caleb Kiragu and Stephen Lukanda are preparing ahead of the presentation before a panel of the international scientists in South Africa. They are assembling the system that topped in the Secondary School Science and Engineering Congress held at Kibabi University in April this year.
Sasa tumeamua kuja na mtambo ambao utaweza kusaidia kupunguza mambo ya wizi, ujambazi na mambo mengine mengi. So tukatumia simu ya zamani, kipande cha simu cha zamani ambacho kilikuisha, tukatumia sensors, tukatumia old phone motherboard, jumper wires, echo transmitters, LCD screen display, Arduino Unos, relays and a toggle pin.
Kuna button ya kwanza, kuna njia ya kwanza ambayo inakufinya emergency button. Hii button inapobonyezwa, ukishafinya hivyo button, kuna signal itatumwa kutoka kwenye transmitter hadi kwenye receiver. Hii signal ikitoka kwa transmitter ifike kwa receiver, kuna action inakuwa made na hii microprocessor hapa ambayo tumeweka. Ni kifaa cha kudhibiti mambo yanayoendelea kwenye hii system yetu.
The security system uses wireless sensors and receivers.
Mezima ama tuseme simu yake aishiki ama ameweka off
ama namba busy.
Ama namba ni busy. Kuna kitu inaitwa call redialing ambapo haikosa kushika, ina redial tena for another infinite number of times up to 10 times. Ndio huyo mtu anapata enough time ya kushika. Na hata after hiyo 10 times imeisha na akose kushika simu, kuna setting ambayo tunaweza kwa simu yake, vile hiyo call ikikuja hivyo na akose kushika inaenda kwa simu ya mtu mwingine.
The government has proposed the 4 big plans. One of them is affordable housing. Tukafikiria ni nini ambacho tutaweza kusaidia ili kuboresha mambo na affordable housing.
The security system uses wireless sensors and receivers that detect an intruder at 30 meters away and immediately sends a signal to the owner of the house and the nearby police station via phone call.
Hello, wewe wamekuja kuja unisaidie?
Wamekuja wakati mgani?
Sasa hizi tu dakika 10 haijaisha, wamekuja nataka pesa na rununu yangu.
Wacha ningangane, niko mbali, niko Thika, lakini natuma wenzangu wa karibu wakuje sasa hivi.
Tuma hata polisi.
Sawa wanakuja.
The two KCSE candidates expressed optimism of approval from veteran scientists who could place them in the list of the latest inventors.
Been able to top up the country as #1, and they are now going to South Africa for the international presentation.
Kwenda kufanya computer science, upande wa robotics na kuja na miradi mingine mengi kama haya.
Elvis Koskei, KT News, Eshikulu Secondary School, Likuyani Sub-County.
Super creative. Still sticking within the African continent, in Senegal, young entrepreneurs are teeming with ideas, but investors remain cautious, especially when it comes to funding tech startups. But things could be starting to change.
These young Senegalese entrepreneurs have 3 minutes to deliver their pitch. They're taking part in a global competition to win funding to develop their startup ideas. Olivia Ndiaye's business got going less than 2 years ago.
On s'est très vite entouré de bonnes personnes, on s'est fait très vite entourer.
We quickly got all the right people in place, quickly found an incubator to help us to structure the project. But unfortunately, it's more the financial side, the investors, funding, especially in the early stages. That's where you find difficulties.
Stage startup, c'est là où il y a un peu plus de difficultés, oui, ça.
The relative novelty of tech startups adds to the cautious attitude of investors in a country where financial resources are limited. Swiss investment fund Seed Stars has a presence in 80 developing countries, including Senegal and other parts of sub-Saharan Africa.
What's lacking is investment in smaller-scale projects for startups that need between around $10,000 to $50,000. The private investor scene doesn't really exist today, or at least it needs a lot of development. That's one of the main things that SeedStars will do, by looking for early-stage startups that often have a great need for funding today.
Yet things are getting going at a local level as well. CTIC, a business incubator started in Dakar in 2011, recently organised a regional investors summit. And the Senegalese state has also taken measures to boost entrepreneurship.
For some years now, Senegal has lowered the minimum social capital necessary to start a business from 1 million CFA francs to 100,000 CFA francs. You can have a social capital of 100,000 CFA francs. I think that really facilitates the creation of limited liability companies and their single owner equivalents.
Authorities are also planning to open a digital technology park in 2021 to further galvanise this sector. These changes to Senegal's business environment, other young investors like Olivia may soon be able to get their business ideas up and running.
Now, the Federal Emergency Management Agency set an alert on Wednesday aimed at tens of millions of mobile phones to test a previously unused presidential alert system to warn the public in the event of a national emergency. Federal officials said Trump was not personally involved in sending the alert, which would be sent in the event of a pending missile attack or rather to a national emergency, and U.S. cell phone users are not able to opt out of the presidential alerts.
As soon as I got it, I was actually on a business call, so it was interrupting my money. So I immediately pressed the X and got rid of it. Do I think it was necessary? Absolutely not. Do I think a lot of the things that are going on with the presidential candidate or the president is necessary? No, they're not necessary. So just put another drop in the bucket.
Could be necessary if we have an emergency. Just I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night with some tweets. But I don't think that's going to happen. I heard on the news that he doesn't have the ability to send those out. So
people do not have the ability to opt out of these alerts. And we have the emergency alert system in place that has been in place very successfully and functioning for many, many years. Why a presidential alert without, and as we heard from FEMA this morning, clear definition of protocol and committee to approve the president's messages is our concern and should be the concern of all the American people.
Wow, imagine constantly getting presidential alert messages. Oh boy. All right, let's dive into that conversation. E-learning. All right, so Cynthia, it's so good to have you here as well as Michael. Let's just jump straight into the conversation. So let's begin perhaps by you telling me what iDo is.
iDo is a learning app for preschool kids. So currently we are focusing on kids in PP1 and PP2, that's pre-primary 1 and pre-primary 2. So we provide digital content that helps the kid learn maths on a smartphone.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Perhaps before you even give us examples, Michael, what is e-learning in the most simple way?
So e-learning is using ICT devices, so smartphones, computers, to create adaptive learning for each child. In traditional sense of education, one teacher provides just the same lecture for everybody. And some children are slower, some children are faster, some children are hyperactive, and with e-learning we have the power of being interactive with each child and understanding each child's needs and adapting to it. That's why creating digital content that the children can interact with has so much better chance and is better suited for the future of learning.
Right. I'm so glad you talked about it being adaptive. We'll come back to that in just a few minutes. All right, so Cynthia, tell me about the program and where it's based so far, what you've been able to do. Have the results been good when we see children in PP1 and PP2 using technology to learn?
So we started 3 years back in Kibera. So Kibera was our our main user focus. So we went and we tried to understand how kids learn before even starting to build the app. So we spent a lot of time in different classrooms in Kibera looking at how learning taking place. With all this knowledge, we transferred all this knowledge into an app. So in a normal preschool setting, there's so much downtime where kids are making noise, throwing tantrums. At that point, no learning is happening. So IDO comes in there and kids are able to, we are utilizing this downtime where kids now have the app and they're playing. So we've seen teachers actually have reported that with the introduction of IDO into their classrooms, kids are more calm because the teacher tells them, if you keep making noise, you won't play the app. And most of them get so attentive and they're patiently waiting for the app to get to them. Some of them tell their parents that I don't want to miss school. If I miss school, I won't play. I won't learn on the IDO app. So kids are very interested in this digital learning where they interact with content. And for school directors, they say that they've seen higher enrollment. So kids like to report very much. So they go and report and say, I want to go to that school that has this device that children are playing with. So it's very interesting for the kids.
So Michael, that means that children are more interested in education and they know they're not coming to sit down and listen to a teacher just yap on.
Of course, if they are just supposed to read the letters from the blackboards, then of course it's less attractive for them than playing a game in which they count carrots for the bunny, or where they go with a spaceship to pick up an alien.
So that's made it learning more and more interesting.
Of course.
All right, then tell me about the advantages of e-learning, apart from what we've just seen right now, that children are able to be more interested in education, really, and going to school where, you hear children saying that I don't want to miss school today. You rarely get to hear that. So what are some of the advantages of e-learning?
So as I said, we can give specific attention to each child by knowing how far they are throughout our curriculum.
And that's the adaptivity you're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
By remembering what exercises they did, by remembering if they were struggling, should they repeat them, or are they actually further ahead? Are they able to do exercises about the more mature topics? So by giving specific attention to each child, which of course a teacher cannot do because they have a class of 30, 40 children, we think that it's better suited for large classrooms.
So now let's stretch on that conversation of adaptivity to help also parents understand. So that e-learning, that means if one child is a bit faster and one child is a bit slower, what e-learning through technology does, it makes sure it keeps track with the student and their performance that way, that everyone still stays on the same boat.
Keeps track, but also it adapts to the child to unleash the potential of the child. So sometimes the child needs more attention, but then they will sprint through the curriculum so fast. So we can unleash each child's potential to learning just by being attentive to each of them.
Okay. So Cynthia, talk to me then about perhaps, you've talked about the teachers and the students. What are the parents' response?
At first, parents are skeptical. Traditionally, why are we having devices in a classroom? So, and then it's the idea is that most parents are still in the phase where they're not sure whether giving kids phones is the right thing to do. Will they access things that are not appropriate to that age? But then when they come and see that actually we've loaded content that is in line with the Kenyan curriculum in the app, they now start getting interested. They're like, so my kid can actually play and also learn. It's just not playing a game that it's guns and it's a little bit violent, but this one it's very interactive and the kids get to learn. That parents see that their child's IQ is growing. They get to see that their kids are now more interested in learning and just not the playing games.
Right.
So that's how parents come in. When they see that this is actually in line with the Kenyan curriculum, it's interactive, it's not just a normal game, it's a learning activity.
Learning experience.
Yeah,
all right. So take me through how this goes. What happens? Is it the school that buys the laptops or the devices, then they download the app, or do you guys, as I do, provide the device which has the app, or does a parent can I simply download it here and teach my child? How do I get to tap? How does one tap into the app?
Okay.
Especially for institutions, schools.
Schools.
Yeah.
So let's start with parents. So parents can easily download the app from the Google Play Store. So currently we are more focused on Android devices. So parents can download the app on Google Play Store. It's called iDo, and they can download it for their kids, and kids can play at home. When we look at institutions, first we are in low-income areas. So this is Kibera, Mathare, such areas. So what we do, we went out and looked for the cheapest smartphone that a school can afford. So we give schools this smartphone at a subsidized price. So they get to buy the smartphone. And for flexibility, schools are able to pay a down payment for the phone and pay the other amount in monthly installments. So after that, the phone comes with the iDo app. We call in teachers to train them, because teachers need to learn the app first, so that they can give it to the kids to learn. So we train the teachers on how the app works, and after that we let the teachers take over. Yeah.
All right, so Michael, being a developer, perhaps the challenges or the barriers that you've seen that prohibit the implementation of e-learning?
Well, of course, the first and foremost is, as developers, we don't know well what is happening in classrooms every day. So that's why we were in constant contact with the schools in Kibera since so many years, to constantly get feedback from teachers, what's right, what's wrong. We had our field officers, they're wonderful. They were visiting schools all the time to find problems, make us fix them. So staying in contact with the user of the app, whether it's the child, whether it's the director, whether it's the teacher, was the most important hurdle that we had to jump through.
Right. But then the other thing is that both Cynthia and Michael, the other challenge is, one would say, the problem with e-learning in low-income places is that, first of all, these children, especially in some areas, do not even have proper uniform. You've seen children who go to school with torn uniform. In places, hopefully when you reach to the places of Turkana with this amazing app, others would say that we have students who are learning under trees. They don't have the basic amenities, right? What do you say to that, Cynthia?
Those are, what you've mentioned, are challenges that we've faced, and we've tried as much as possible to overcome those challenges. Even when we talk about now that the school has a mobile phone in a classroom, you might find that network is a problem. Network is a problem. We cannot be in constant communication with that school to understand what's happening with the app. So there are all these outside factors that make it very unfavorable for the penetration of e-learning. And I believe it's different stakeholders have to come to play, so that e-learning can have a good platform so that we can grow on.
Okay, speaking of which, Michael, could you take us through this app?
Sure.
Could you show us how it works?
As Cynthia was saying, we are using the cheapest Android phones, which have data connection already. This is how the app starts when the child gets it. What you see here would be a child's photo, because a teacher takes a photo of each child. Then the child, which is supposed to play, sees their photo, and they tap on the photo, which shows a set of exercises that they can choose from. They are not all the exercises in our app. They are the predefined exercises that are the best for the child in this specific moment. So that the child can choose a game about a giraffe, or a game about a pig, or a game about something that interests them. And after 10 minutes or so, the app says, that's enough, and shows a photo of a next child. So then, if a child is playing in a little, on a little desk, which is somewhere in the classroom, the teacher is having their own class. So then the child can look for the colleague from the photo, just find them in the app, find them in the class, and get them to play for the next 10 minutes. And so they take turns like that to play exercises that fit each of them the most.
Beautiful.
And it still doesn't disturb the teacher in any way. The teacher can choose to only show exercises about, for example, putting together or the exercises that fit with their current classes, but the children don't disturb the teacher during their class. So it ties in to the regular daily cycle.
Beautiful. And there's something that you said that also caught my attention, that it's after 10 minutes, meaning there's a time that has been placed on it, that way the child doesn't spend so much time, so much face time on the device. And that can be changed?
Yes, we can adapt the time for each child.
Right.
That we give this choice to the teachers, because some classes have 5 children, some classes have 50 children.
Right.
And in those different situations,
the time changes.
The time changes. It's good to control the child's time with a smartphone, of course, so we limit it to reasonable amounts, but we leave the last choice for the teacher in this one too.
Okay, so Cynthia, are there plans to have this go beyond PP1 and PP2? Because I'm guessing if a child gets to PP2 and they're going to the next level and they find out, oh my goodness, there's no I do, then why should I go to school? Especially now, after 2 years, they were so excited. So are there plans to take it beyond PP1 and PP2?
Do you want to take this?
Sure. So we took special focus on PP1 and PP2 because the children's brains in this 3 to 6 years old, this is when we need to teach them how to learn. This is when they develop the most, and this is when it's the most important to give them constant attention and to challenge their brains to develop. But of course, it's a base on which we can always build upon. Right now, we are focusing on the PP1 and PP2, but some of the exercises that we have in the app already go beyond it for the fast learners or for young geniuses.
Right. Beautiful. And speaking of which, could Michael help me understand, now that from a broader perspective, how e-learning can help perhaps even with distance learning? It could be a child in Eldoret or Mombasa, right? And this app could help me with my homework or with my studies. Just how e-learning is closing that gap of distance learning.
I see. Well, of course, e-learning makes it possible for teachers to set specific goals for children who are far away from them. Also, we provide content which is supervised by our learning experts, and with this use of e-learning, they can spread their knowledge to so many children right now all around Kenya, but maybe soon somewhere else. So I would say that it is bridging the gap by allowing a teacher or a learning expert to communicate with so many children at once and to give constant attention to each one of them.
Which is a big factor. Yes, go ahead, Cynthia. You wanted to add on that?
Yes, on e-learning, the fact that you don't have to go to class these days, most campuses have incorporated digital learning, where people take courses at the comfort of their homes. In the software development world, a lot of people are now taking online courses from MIT, Harvard, right from their homes back here in Kenya. So all these are the fruits of e-learning, the fact that you can engage in long-distance learning. You can learn from anywhere, on your mobile phone, on your laptop, on your tablet. All this is powered by technology.
Right. Michael, does the app run on, perhaps should I say, mobile data? Or do I have to have my mobile data, or do I have to be Wi-Fi connected for me to use the app?
We support any means of communication that the user will supply to us. So if we are on mobile data, then the user can use this mobile data to synchronize the new content that we supply every week.
Right.
If it's on Wi-Fi, then of course we will also use Wi-Fi. It's quite flexible in this matter.
Right, because I'm sure, like you said, networks is a challenge. So you can imagine in places where I would go to, a network would be a problem for them.
So of course we don't require constant connection. What is loaded on a phone is enough to keep children going for weeks. But once we have connection, we use it to synchronize new content to the app, to learn about how children have been playing the app, to give it back to our development branch to understand what they were doing. but we don't require constant connection.
And this is amazing because it's changing how we learn. It's changing how classrooms are. And perhaps this is where we're going to see the trends even coming in the future, where you don't have to sit in a classroom of 30 people and you have one teacher, you know, just talking to a mass of students. And the thing about it that I've seen is that even it can go beyond PP1 all the way to university. And you've already talked about it. All right, perhaps your closing remarks, Cynthia. I'll begin with you.
Oh, okay. So I'll talk a bit about IDO. So for anyone who's interested in joining IDO, you can contact us. We have our Facebook page is IDO Kenya. We have a great customer support team there that will handle all the queries. And also for parents interested, they can download it for their kids at home. I know right now a lot of parents are concerned that their kids get to start school when they're 4 years. So parents are wondering, what will I do with a 3-year-old kid in the house?
And this is fantastic.
This is fantastic. They can get such content for their kids and they are able to just monitor it. There's a progress where they can monitor how the child is doing at home. So this child has an advantage when they get to school. There'll be those children who are like, I know this, teacher, I know this, because they're already so much enlightened.
And they watch the giraffe and the rabbit that Michael was saying.
Yeah, and they know what a spaceship is.
And exactly,
yes,
at 4 years old.
At 4 years old.
Beautiful. Michael, your closing remarks?
So just as Cynthia said, if anybody would like to use this app, we are spreading all around Kenya. Please find us on Google Play Store. We're called IDO, E-I-D-U. Or just Google joinido.com.
And are there plans to perhaps even take this further, or are you working on other projects that could still feed into e-learning?
Right now we are focusing on math, but we are developing also the language content. So the teachers were asking for it for quite some time. Language is next on the line, and then perhaps other subjects.
Fantastic. You guys are doing amazing work. Come back again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
that's Michael and Cynthia helping us dive into e-learning here in Kenya and understanding, of course, the barriers, but as well as the advantages. Let's take a quick commercial break. Morning Express returns in just a few minutes.